I may have to research this more. So the great experiment. Here is what we are doing. I am starting 4 different accounts, 3 with friends and 1 for myself for very adult businesses that we have not been in before. So here are the 4 accounts, and here's the rules that we're going to follow. So the rules are really interesting. We are starting all of these accounts from complete scratch. Absolute zero, no pre-done marketing, no pre-done fan base. So we're not starting an OnlyFans where we already have an Instagram with 50,000 followers. We're starting at 0 for everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to track how much time, money, and effort it takes and what we get back. So I've got 3 people who are going to be completely honest and show all of their financials, which I know is a little scary. And I will literally show my knickers on this one. So that's basically what we're doing. I'm going to see. Oh, apparently Apple is here, and I'm just trying to figure out how to add her. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to learn more about streaming to make this work. So here are the 4 accounts that we're setting up. We're setting up a foot fetish account, and I've tried to make this as demographically diverse as I can within my pandemic bubble. So I really appreciate all the people asking to join this experiment, but like, if you haven't been inside my house, that's really not going to happen. So the 4 accounts that we're making is Apple is making a phone account. So basically phone sex with a little bit of audio clips from absolute scratch, which is really, really awesome for everybody. And everyone should give Apple presents and thank yous because Apple has established accounts. So she could be making way more money by just like ditching us and going and doing the cool thing on her own. So that's awesome. One of my older friends from, believe it or not, high school, we ended up in the same city, and she is going to be doing a audio only account. Now, this is kind of an experiment because I've never done just audio. I always had some live performance, but she's not interested. And the niche that she's going into, she's actually moderately asexual and completely disgusted by everything. So she is just going into like a pure like degradation line where she just tells people how gross and revolting she thinks all of this is. So that's kind of a weird niche for starting it. It's definitely going to be a little bit more challenging than just a standard SNF, which stands for, and we've got somebody else who is in their early 20s and is transgendered. And they're going to be starting a foot account from scratch. They actually were going to do this with us tonight, but unfortunately fortunately, they got their COVID shot today and they are out of it. So they're not going to be able to even like pop in. Next, we have me. I'm going to be starting a panty business from scratch, and just to make it extra exciting, interesting, and challenging because I'm an idiot, and while doing all of this and working full time, I'm going to make a harder challenge for myself. I am going to be building a panty business for myself, but for those of you who know me, I am a polyamorous lesbian, which means I have 2 wives. So the 3 of us are going to do panties. So I am, yay me, going to take a lot of pictures of my wife's butt and underpants. Nice. On the other hand, it's going to just make things a lot more complicated when I have like a lot more pieces to handle before everything. I'm basically going to be facing a fairly steep learning curve. And while I hit that learning curve, I've decided to make it more interesting and more challenging. But I think we're up for it. Hello, new person joining the stream. It is nice to see you. It doesn't tell me who is here, but I see an extra person got added. So feel free to say hi in the chat. So that is what we're going to be doing. And the reason why we're making all of this information public is there's a lot of secrecy in the adult industry to sort of keep new people out, which is ridiculous because let's be honest, it is somewhere between a 3 and 4 billion with a B $1 billion industry. There is so much money in adult content. Hi, Apple, I love you. But yeah, there's so much money in adult content. So adding an extra 200 to 300 phone sex operators is really not going to change how much money anyone's making, as long as people don't just show up and leech off of the platforms, which is not what I suggest, because that's not how you make the big money anyway. How you make the big money is you create your own fan base, following, and a catalog of content. And that's how you really succeed in this industry. So we're going to be teaching everybody how to do this from scratch, showing how to log in and create these profiles, log into the sites, because honestly, the more vibrant community of females and content producers, because, you know, this is, let's be honest, paid content is for the girls, gays, and theys. You know, I have answered it many times when a straight guy asks if they can do this, and I'm like, sure, if you go gay for pay and do content for males, because males are the only ones who buy. So this is for the girls, gays, and theys. And there is so much here for everybody. The pie is so big. We can all have as big of a slice as we want, and we're going to be fine. And it's not going to kill anybody else's income, because everybody has something unique to offer the market. There's no two people who are going to be offering the exact same thing, because by its nature, adult work is personalized, and it's personalized by the provider. Sometimes for the request of the consumer, and sometimes just because that's what we want to make that day. And that's what we're comfortable making, and that's what we're happy making. So there's a lot of scarcity mindset, I think, probably because a lot of women who start in the adult industry have been through some shit. A lot of us have been through a fair amount of poverty, and that leads to a really strong scarcity mindset. But there is more than enough for everybody. There is so much here. There is so much money. There's so much, I mean, it's not technically limitless, but it's multiple billions of dollars. And you only need a couple $100,000 to be living a really good life as a content producer. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of being a content producer. I'm going to move the slide a little bit. That's better. So the benefits of being a content producer are basically control over your own life and schedule. You will wake up when you want to wake up if you're doing this full time, go to sleep when you want to go to sleep. You can move this around for family obligations. So if you have kids, this is really great because you can make it to all the kids' events and still make a full-time living. And let's talk about the downsides. There is prejudice against former sex workers. So I strongly recommend that you maintain a cover, or even part-time at another small business while you do this, so you don't end up with weird gaps in your resume that are hard to explain. And this is especially important if you're in any of the hard industries, because if there is danger for being a non-anonymous adult worker. You know, that's just a fact of life. There are guys who think that because you are willing to sell a picture of your feet online for money, that they can put their hands on top of you and touch you and do what they want to you. I don't know why they think that. It's super shitty, but there are shitty people out there who are going to take advantage of you. And some of those men are hiring managers, and some of those guys will spread sniggering rumors about you at wherever place you work. So it's really, really important that you do something to protect yourself from that. The other thing is that sucks is this is work. This is emotional labor. It can be extremely draining. And like, if you just think that you can sit and like fart on camera and make $100,000 without any effort, you're either already famous, 18 and super hot already, with or like completely delusional. Like, That's just not going to happen. So there's a lot of false information by people trying to pump up their numbers, being like, oh yeah, you can make this much, you can make this much. And part of the point of this is to show what is reasonable for people who are working part-time, with a day job, just getting started. Hey, Beverly, thanks so much for saying something. For people who are just getting started to really reasonably make. Because one of the things that I have learned and witnessed about this industry is that this is an amazing way for people who are in really bad spots to get out. So if you are a single parent not making ends meet, you're about to lose your house, you just can't take your job anymore. Or you're in an abusive relationship. This is a really good way to make the money you need to escape. So I want to make sure that there is reasonable, realistic information, not like, oh yeah, pee in a pair of panties and you can sell it for $600. Because I haven't been in the panty industry, but I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. So Beverly, since you are here, do you have any questions for me and Apple? Apple is the one who is doing the from scratch audio accounts for phone sex, not the audio only, but the phone sex accounts. So while I'm waiting for Beverly to type, I don't know if she was expecting like this much intense, focused attention. Let's see. So yeah, I think it's important to have somebody posting some. Yeah, how do I do that? How do I bring you in on audio? Hang on, Apple is my muse, and she is okay. That works. Low tech is sometimes the best tech.
Hey, gorgeous.
Hey, can you hear yourself on the screen?
I muted you. Let me try.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear myself.
Fantastic. All right, so super low tech. I have Apple over here on my cell phone. So Apple, go ahead and let me know a little bit about why you got started doing adult content production.
Well, thank you, Lotus. My name is BBW Apple's, and this is my journey. About 4 or 5 years ago, I had a lot of credit card debt for a variety of reasons, and you, gorgeous, said, hey, you know what you could do? And so I took that advice to heart, and you helped me get all my ducks in a row and create a fabulous character who is very well established, made me quite a bit of money, and the character is this gorgeous 18-year-old tiny blonde, which I am very much not. I am BBW Apple Tarts. And BBW is not part of the tiny descriptor.
No. So you had a barely 18, super bubbly, tiny character with, the basically the girl next door with pigtails type.
Absolutely, 100%. That was my character. In fact, I had these wonderful pictures from a friend of mine, and so what I did was, because my voice, I don't feel like my voice is a bubbly 18-year-old tiny blonde voice. I feel like I have a much richer, deeper voice than that. So I actually pulled up all my voice acting skills and put on a different voice for this character. And it felt like it added an extra layer of security for me, but it was also incredibly difficult.
Yeah, that's got to be hard on the body.
Yeah, if I may do the voice, I
Yeah,
would be happy
please
to give you a
demonstrate.
sample.
Please demonstrate.
Hi, this is so nice to meet you. I can't wait to take you out and get our nails done and do all the fun things together.
It didn't occur to me how much you sound like a My Little Pony when you do that, but I now have to completely rethink the whole friendship is magic thing between us.
Oh my god. In any event, I've been starting from scratch and documenting on TikTok and hope to make some YouTube videos with you and for you.
Yay!
And I've currently signed up with one platform. I Want Phones, which is also I Want Clips.
Yeah, and that's a new platform. That's not one that you and I have historically been on before.
No, I am brand new to that platform.
It looks beautiful. Like the UI is really nice.
It is a beautiful platform. It was really fast. I got once I uploaded my documents, which, uploading my documents and signing up and doing all that, 15, 30 minutes, signing my life away in terms of getting my W-9 and uploading my IDs, and I was approved within an hour.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's not unusual for the verification process, which is where they basically make sure you're not being a trafficked child. Like they make sure that you're not a 15-year-old being forced to do this. So you have to submit your photo ID. It's very secure. The only people who see it are the ones who are running the site. I have not heard in 20 years of any site being breached where that information has been released. But it's basically your verification. So a person actually has to look at your ID and match it up and make sure that that's really you. And it's not unusual for some sites for that to take a week. So for that to be done in an hour is like really, really good.
And this was Sunday night at 11 p.m.
Holy shit.
So this was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So the only reason I realized it took an hour was because in the morning I woke up, checked my email, and checked the timestamp and was like, what is this nonsense?
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and so I'm super happy with them. And they've got a nice revenue split. From the research I've done on their site, they're very upfront about how much they pay. Don't ask me for the numbers off the top of my head because they have different splits for the different ways that you can produce content.
Yeah, that's pretty common.
That is very common. And
hang on one sec, Apple. Beverly, we are talking about the phone sex. Apple is making a phone sex line, the adult phone line. We'll probably also be doing just a little bit of content creation because that is really important for phone sex primary adult performers to do, which basically just help even out your revenue. Like if you get a head cold or a sore throat, you need to have a little bit of extra revenue to see you through. So if you have any specific questions about phone sex in particular, I think combined we've got 25 years between us. So ask away. All right, sorry to have interrupted you. I don't know if you saw that popping up on the live chat questions. So go ahead, my baby.
So I'm glad.
My beautiful Apple.
Okay, so
the revenue splits are generous.
Yes, the revenue splits are generous, especially for custom content.
Ooh, that's nice.
They did have a words. I'm so good at words. They did have a niche, or rather a tag for audio only on their content creation.
Oh, very nice.
And for customs, they give 100%.
They do what now?
If I remember correctly, and I just want to go look at their site now, but for custom content, I guess for the first sale of the custom content, they charge the customer extra, but what you add as your fee you get 100% of that.
Okay. That is really amazing, because for most platforms, one of the things that you get and you pay for as a provider from the platforms is they handle the adult credit card processing, which is a nightmare. And trust me, you want nothing to do with it. Okay. Nothing to do with adult credit card processing. It's a nightmare. If a guy is like, spends $300 on you and the next day he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. It is not unusual for them to call the credit card company and go, I never ordered that. I never did that phone sex. And then you have to go fight with Visa or American Express for 30 minutes to get paid. Okay. So adult credit card processing usually costs around 28 to 30%. So that's pretty much the best split you're going to see on a site that handles your chargebacks, which is a really important thing to make sure that they handle, because if not, you're paying them to use that platform and you have to do their work to do their chargebacks, which is a huge pain in the ass. And while you're doing that, you are not making money. So a platform giving you 100% of anything that you do on the platform is really a big deal. Okay.
So yes, if somebody requests custom content, you get to choose, you set your rates for the amount of time, and it looks like what they do is for 5 minutes, they charge $10 to the customer, and whatever you put down as your rate, you get the full amount. So it's ridiculous. And I definitely set that up. I have to create 5 pieces of content for their clips store, because I want phones as part of I want clips.
Yeah.
And once I do that, my store can go live, and then I can start hopefully producing custom content for lots of wonderful people.
As many people as you can get into your voluptuous traps of gorgeousness and fabulousness. Okay. So couple of quick questions. I know we went through this when you first got started, and you haven't really needed this since, but something that I'm recommending for everyone who's new is that you create a character before you create emails and logins and stuff. So what is the character that you're creating?
So I have, as you have instructed in the past, I have a beautiful character sheet for BBW Apple Tarts.
Oh, a character sheet. Oh my, it's only like we're working on together to build for everybody.
Oh my God, what is this nonsense? Anyway, so I've got my performer name, so I'm Apple. That's BBW Apple Tarts, but Apple for short. I also have recorded a quote-unquote real name that is easy for me to remember, which I will not give away in this interview.
Oh, smart.
Very smart. I have my age, which is, I'll give away my age, is 28. I am not actually 28. I won't tell you how old I am either. But
it's important to fuzz a lot of these details in case somebody with ill intent ever gets one piece of information. It makes it a lot harder for them to find you and stalk you. This is very much a part of the safety protocol of getting started in the adult world. So it's not unusual for you to fuzz the city that you live in, where you grew up, just so if somebody starts showing up and sniffing around the county you live in, they're going to be at least 20 miles away from you.
So I did go with a location that I knew well, which is Texas, because I lived there for a very long time, and I'm still in Central Standard Time, so it works out really well.
Yeah.
I have family details, because oftentimes customers will start asking questions, like very nosy questions. So I've got a younger sister and an older brother, and I have names and ages. It's ridiculous. And then my relationships, I am swinging single, as Apple. And I am a bi girl, and I am willing and able to take anything they can throw at me.
11, 12 dicks and a trapeze act. You are game. All right, so you have
pretty much. I mean, that's really real life for this Apple. So I mean,
yeah. Yeah, we have some real life stories, Apple and I. We have some real life stories that we've actually turned into content that people didn't believe. That was the best part.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's not for YouTube.
Not for YouTube. Not for YouTube. You have to pay for that content. It's filthy. Anyway, so you have a character made up. Do you have any? So, while you're getting all of these sites set up, before you like go through and activate all of them, because a lot of them do require some content up front. Like this one requires 5 pieces of content. Do you want to just go ahead and spend some time tomorrow and do like 5-minute or less pieces?
That is an awesome idea. So the other thing that I have going for me is I'm trying to start this from scratch as per the rules
the brief
of this game. But I do have some old pieces of fan fiction. And I am going to take those old pieces of fan fiction and rewrite them a little. It will be good for me. So it will no longer be, Darcy Lewis and Tony Stark. It's going to be Apple and, a random dude.
Who happens to look like Tony Stark.
Who, just happens.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm like 90% lesbian, and I would absolutely smash Robert Downey Jr. into 1,000 pieces. He would be the one turning into dust at the end of Endgame, not Spider-Man. Just saying.
Oh, God. Me and Chris Hemsworth, we're down.
Well, I mean...
in any event...
Gotta bring up your ex-boyfriend, Jesus. Okay. Hello, new person who joined us. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat window, and we are more than happy to help you out with it.
So things that I did do today was start getting these accounts in order. Branding myself under BBW Apple Tarts because I really like the name, and so I've got a Twitter. Well, actually, I think I need to redo the Twitter, but I've got an Instagram, which I've called, I said that I'm a spicy accountant, and I've obviously got a TikTok. I follow you and your wondrousness there.
I have to set you so that you can get some more followers. All right, Nicole, the website, the one we are talking about right now is I Want Phone. So if you get a chance, I'm actually going to type the URL, but I have a document I wrote up. So I'm adding it in here. And it's up to 14 pages now because to edit it down from 12, I added 2. But it is a 14-page document with a basic getting started guide in it. And it also has almost 2 full pages of just links to websites that you can join. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is going through each one of the websites and going through step by step and showing you how to log into them and create the accounts and create the characters. But Apple and I both have full-time jobs. So we're making content as fast as we can. Hello, new person. If you have any questions, please ask them. So that tinyurl.com/spicyaccountant, that has the live document for the getting started guide. And a lot of it is safety because safety has to come first if you're going to become a content creator. And a lot of it is, I hope, like helping set realistic expectations of how much money you can make. Hey, Bree, how you doing?
So when I first started in the spicy accountant world, back 4 or 5 years ago now, with my other character that's now established, in my first month, I need to look it up, but I made about $700 in my first month ever doing. And
it was a partial month. I think we started the second week of the month.
Something like that, yeah. But it was I put 700. I made my time doing phones ever. I was very nervous about it.
You almost threw up, if I recall. Like you were.
I may have block that part out. But I have been very much, with your help, learning the ropes, figuring out my content, figuring out what I should emphasize, the niches I could get into, that sort of thing. And I am very, very excited for this rebrand and going and showing my lusciousness to the world, and being
not
able
pretending to be barely 18 anymore.
Yeah, not pretending to be a barely 18-year-old blonde anymore, and just going with that.
That's awesome. Hey, Alexis, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks for seeing, like, I didn't promote this at all, so I'm so happy to see people here. So tonight I redid big chunks of the Getting Started Guide. There's 2 more pages on it. If you have any specific questions, Apple here is the person doing the experiment of creating all new phone accounts and a whole new phone character from scratch. So she is giving up her established character and client base to do this. And we're going to try a few new marketing tips, because last time we did this was a couple of years ago and things change. So thanks so much for joining us. Please ask questions. Otherwise, Apple and I are prone to go off on tangents. Me more than Apple. Apple is more sensible in person, which is terrifying.
So I went ahead and, just like Alexis, made notes. You can hear me turning pages in my notebook. So I've got notes about marketing. I've got notes about content. I've got notes about something that I am extremely bad at, actually.
Oh?
Yes, scope creep. In the
yes.
sense that I tend to look at the project and go, I want to do all of this all at once. And you can't do that.
Yeah. I'm going to address that real quick. The URL is tinyurl.com/spicyaccountant. And it's actually spelled correctly. I worry every time I type it that I didn't get it right, but no, it's correct. And you can put www in front of that. And that is a link directly to a Google Doc that is in active editing. So as people ask more questions, I'll clarify them and keep adding to that document. And that's completely free, but some people have been very kind and shot me like Amazon gift cards and stuff, which makes me ridiculously happy. So if you can, please do. That would make my day. And if you can't, don't feel bad about it. So scope creep. This is really important. It is so tempting. Because as you're doing this, you're like, oh, this is interesting, this is interesting, this is interesting. And the way women's sexuality is built is the more we do, like the further out we tend to go. Men's sexuality is like, it's a rut. Women's sexuality is much more fluid. And when I do a video specifically on like college level men's sexuality for sex workers, we'll go into this in more detail. But guys like what they like, and they are very consistent in it, and it is very hard for them to get out of their rut. So if you start building a client base doing what they like, and then you go off into left field, it makes building and developing an audience that's going to be paying you a lot more. It scatters your effort instead of concentrating it, and sort of giving you that feedback effect where, like, the best feeling on earth, like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not an orgasm. The best feeling on earth is rolling out of bed, looking at your phone, and seeing that you had a $300 deposit because somebody you've never talked to or put any effort in bought one piece of your content, decided they liked it, and then bought every single thing you have up on the platform. Am I right?
Oh God, it is the best feeling in the world. I'm not sure if I've hit 300 in a single day, but holy God.
Oh yeah, it's
so
like a massage taking a huge fart when you really needed to and had been holding it in, and like the taste of chocolate with no calories. It's like, it's so good. So that is, but the more you scatter your efforts, the harder it is to hit that. Because when you get somebody like that, they're going to decide they like your rut. Sorry, that could have been a vertical smile joke. Anyway, they're going to decide they like the thing that you're doing and they just want more of it. So if you have like one of the examples I put in the guide is balloons. So like if you are doing balloon fetish stuff and all of a sudden you start doing like small penis humiliation and cuckolding, and then you go off and you do something else, and then you do something else, and then you do something else, you're going to lose your balloon dudes. And it's okay to do a little bit of market testing, but it needs to be really deliberate, where you like release 1 to 5 pieces of content in a certain niche and just see how they do. But being deliberate about that is not nearly as much fun as just being like, I feel like making something bizarre today, so I'm putting on a white wig and hitting people with fish. You know, that's way more fun. All right. Any thoughts, Apple, now that I've ranted?
So I'm going to go back to scope creep and not just talk about the idea of content getting diluted because going off into different avenues and different niches, but actually the scope of what you are putting in time-wise. Yeah. So basically, how many hours a week do you want to do this? What is the startup time or the startup cost in terms of time? Not in terms of money, but in terms of time. And then we've already talked about just like the consequences of this. You've kind of gone over that really well, especially in the document. But for people wanting to put in a certain amount of time a week or only having a certain amount of time a week, they've really got to plan their time around that.
Yeah.
And make sure that they're setting reasonable expectations of themselves when they get started.
Yeah, like nobody's like if you sign up and make $1,000 your first night, that is that's unusual. Lacole, send me an email to dreaminglotus@gmail.com and I'll send you the link directly. A lot of browsers automatically put a space between Spicy and accountant. Okay, sorry, go.
Oh, drat.
Time creep.
So it's very tempting, especially at the beginning, to just go absolutely bazongas out there and want to sign up for all of the things and do all of the marketing and do all of that. And really, it's about pacing yourself and not trying to chase the $1,000 a night and not trying to chase the
$1,000 a night is exhausting.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's possible, but you have to work really hard to get there. And by the end of that $1,000 night, you are a fried potato.
Yeah, I have done 3-hour-long calls, and by the end of that 3-hour-long call, I am spent.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah. So Alexis, Bree, pay attention to that one. That's a big one. And it's also, I found for myself, like every time I reboot, I am prone to anxiety. And it's also tempting to spend a lot of time futzing around on little shit that doesn't really matter and doesn't get you a lot of results, like making the logo just right on your blog. Like I have spent 3-4 hours doing that when I'm only have 10 hours a week to spend on getting something booted up. And that's because even for someone who's been doing it forever, for me at least, like the first time I boot it up and I start talking to clients again on phone sex, I get so nervous. So nervous. I'm like, what am I going to say? And the answer is usually something like, hey, baby, what are you thinking about tonight? And then you just let them talk. Yeah, I'm going to post my email in here real quick. Oh, Apple's got it. Okay. Yeah, so this is something new, and new things are always really scary till you do it the first time. especially if you were a former gifted kid that was like, has a lot of that pressure to do something perfect the first time you do it every time. Otherwise, it's no good. And that was definitely me. I was the former gifted child. But I mean, it's a dude with his dick out. Like they're not terribly complicated creatures. They have their dicks out and they want to be happy. This isn't, you don't run across a ton of Karens. There's always going to be a couple Karens and Kevins, but you don't run across a ton of Kevins in this industry. Like they're literally paying to have fun and be happy. So that does take some of the pressure off. Any thoughts on that?
I will say that while they are paying to be happy, to be entertained, to have their fantasies fulfilled, it can also be kind of a therapist role.
Yes.
Because a lot of the men that I have dealt with in the past need reassurance that their itch, their fetish, whatever it may be, is normal.
Okay.
And not only is it normal, but you as the content creator, you as the provider are really into it.
Yes.
And that makes them so happy and over the moon. But it is this emotional labor of making sure that you're soothing them at the same time that you're enticing them.
Yeah. And that is exhausting. It is very much the unspoken labor of women. And one of the things I like about adult work is that we are actually paid for it. It being the sort of unspoken therapists for these men. Because, honestly, if you hang out with a group of therapists and you hang out with a group of sex workers, we talk about our clients the exact same way. Because a lot of guys are incapable of getting therapy or opening up emotionally unless they have an erection. So you end up like being basically a pseudo therapist and dealing with a lot of repression and shame and guilt and all of this shit. And people will talk about their exes and how their divorces went. And it can be intense and draining, especially if you have a day job and this is the side hustle you're doing. Like, spending a 9-hour day at work, driving home half an hour, and then having a guy unload on you about his first girlfriend committing suicide and how that led to his like hot pink short fetish. That can be tough.
So I always have two things. One is a cutoff time. And the other is people in my life who will support me and that I can vent to about my calls.
Yeah.
So the support network and venting about your calls, that is something that you may or may not have because you may or may not be able to be open about your spicy accountant life. And then the other thing is that when you're talking about the time cutoff for me, because my day job starts at 8 a.m. in the morning, I always say that I'm going to turn off, or back when I was doing this in my old character, it was I'm going to turn off my phone lines at 11 o'clock. Because if I get that call at 11 o'clock, I have no idea if it's going to run for 3 minutes or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one of those things where I've had a caller who calls me like right as I'm turning off my line, and I'm stuck on the phone for a couple of hours with him because I don't want to get off the call because I want to make sure that he stays a good client.
Yeah. Yeah, and whale management is something we're definitely going to have to talk about. I'll send you the email when the live is over. I don't want to hop between windows and like type because my laptop isn't very good. This is $100 laptop, so if I ask it to do too much, it will die. So don't worry, you'll get it tonight. Yeah, and that's something we definitely need to talk about is whale management, because when you have a guy who shows up and will consistently drop $300 to $500 every time he talks to you. It's really easy to fuck your life up chasing that whale. To let him completely throw off your sleep schedules, all sorts of things like that. And And that, I think, is something that everybody has to decide on their own, like what their needs are at the time. Because there have been times where I've had a whale, and like you'll find a lot of whales are cokeheads. Or at least mine are. Or like if I could honestly give my business cards to coke dealers, I would totally do it. Because a cokehead will drop so much money, and they're super easy calls because they forget what they said. So you're just literally repeating yourself every 5 minutes for 2 hours. You know, you can sit there, you can read a book, you can crochet, you can work on your Etsy business. It's great. No, like most of your callers deserve your full attention, but cokeheads don't notice. So,
all right. I'm gonna pull you back, Luda.
Pulling me back. But yeah, like there have been times where I've completely destroyed my sleep schedule because I had a whale that called every 3.5 hours for like a minimum hour call for 5 days in a row.
All right, so
my sleep schedule was shattered. But I had a big financial need right then. But I also didn't have a day job.
So I want to bring up the idea that perhaps we should define whale, because we both know what it means. I do not know if the people watching know what it means.
That is a good idea. A whale is a big client. So you end up with a lot of little fish. The average phone sex call lasts 3 minutes, and those guys basically pay for your marketing. They tend to be reliable. They come all the time. They do a little snacky snack, but you know, a 3-minute call, not going to be huge amounts of money. And then you have your better callers, you know, 15, 20-minute calls, the people that you get to know better. A whale is somebody who's going to call for like an hour plus at a time, and also tip, also buy things off your Amazon wish list. They're the guys that drop thousands of dollars when you're interacting with them. And if you're in the ocean of adult content long enough, you run across whales. So the trick is, can you hook a whale? Can you keep them interested? And is it worth it to you? Because some whales are massively abusive, narcissistic, woman-hating assholes, and they will try to destroy your soul. And is that worth it? And I cut off whales when they get emotionally abusive.
So I had a whale at the very beginning of my tenure of being a spicy accountant when I first got started under my original character, and so he was good for like one call, and then 2 calls, and then the 3rd call it started getting a little weird, and he just got deeper and deeper into his fetishes, and I could not handle it. And so I blocked him because I could not handle the kinds of things he was asking for. And so one of the things that I would say everybody should do is not only create a list of the things that they can do, but their limits and their boundaries that they will not do. And
respecting your own boundaries is the key to mental health while doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then a lot of times those boundary limits tend to line up pretty well with the terms of service for most sites, most platforms. And so it's much easier to just be like, I'm sorry, it's against the terms of service. I can't do that. And so if you don't feel comfortable.
There are platforms that have different terms of service. So for instance, one of my hard limits will not do adult diapers, adult babies, will not do it. Absolutely refuse. It creeps me out. It makes me sick to my stomach. I have some trauma around it. Will not do it. And most services don't allow adult babies. Some of them do. So what I do is I just don't sign up for those services. And that way I can just sort of say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't violate the terms of service for the platform. And guys will push, but it gives you an out.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to refer to an authority, because a lot of times men respect that more than they respect you.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one of those things. And so I will say that I don't really have a problem with that, but I've always tried to obey the terms of service for where I'm at.
Yeah.
To make sure that I don't run into trouble. Because even though your calls, I don't think typically are monitored in any way, it's still better for you to not kind of attract those.
And
those
guys will
you're
brag about violating
with.
the terms of service in their reviews on you, which can get you in trouble.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, so we've been at this for 50 minutes. We've got about 10 minutes left. Guys, if you guys have any questions, I'm going to hang it up at 60 minutes. So now is the time to ask. So there's 5 of you here. This is going to be a very rare event. I did not publicize this at all, but I don't think we're going to have another event this small again. So if you have any questions about setting up your first character or setting up an account, like, now is the time. You have me here and you have Apple here, and we're awesome. So fire away. Do you have any questions for me, Apple?
Well, yes, I do. So I'm starting from exactly scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do have like an old Twitter that might work. I do have an old Reddit that might work. And so I'm assuming that I should just put a kibosh on those and start up everything branded BBW Apple Parts.
If you haven't touched them in like 6 months, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Because you've
Reddit in 6 months.
Yeah, you've lost all of the people who were actively engaged with you at that point. The best site, that's really going to depend on you. The best site is going to change, and it's going to depend on you and your niche. So you basically need to, Apple posted it upstream. It's dreaminglotus@gmail.com in the chat. So for you, what you need to do is figure out what characteristics that you have or your character has, and then what activities you like. And at the intersection of that is your market. So if you are a person of color content creator and you are into domination and submission, you are going to make more money on a different site than an Asian woman who is into feminization and sissification, or a Hispanic woman who is into foot fetish. So it's really going to depend on you. There are sites that are better for beginners. I strongly suggest, if you're still trying to find your footing, you're still trying to find your erotic voice, talktome.com is the one I recommend for beginners. It is a nightmare to navigate that website. I am going to do a walkthrough where I create a brand new account and just walk you through making it, because it is not a well-designed website. But they have what used to be called a party line on there, where basically you put out a 60 or a really small voice clip, and people can talk to you. It's only, $12 to $14 an hour. But it lets you experiment really, really rapidly, because you don't have to wait an hour between calls. You don't have to redo all of your marketing materials. You don't have to come up with new visuals. You don't have to come up with new templates. You can literally just switch, just record another 5-second clip and see what feels right for you and see what vibes best for you. So that's why I suggest Talk to Me, because if you screw up, there's no consequences. The guys on the party line are not going to become long-term customers for you, right? They're not part of your market, but you can use that to sort of do market research on yourself. Okay. Next question, because that was a really good one.
So I will say, I don't know if there was another question that got asked.
No, Alexis was just agreeing that talktome.com is a nightmare. Yes, it is. It is known for being a nightmare, and it sucks because they actually have decent traffic. But, oh, fuck, that interface is just a beast. It is so non-intuitive.
So I want to talk just a second about marketing, because, or not specifically marketing, but social media presence. And so the social media presence is, the big one is Twitter. The next is definitely Reddit. And then so many people use Instagram. And then, of course, you, my darling, are all over that TikTok. But I just
that was new.
That was definitely new. But Instagram and TikTok are very reserved.
They're unfriendly to adult content creators.
Yeah. So just when you're marketing yourself on these various social media platforms, you gotta be really conscientious about their terms of service so you don't get kicked.
Yeah. And another thing is when you are figuring out what your intersection is, there are lots and lots and lots of forums that are going to be really niche specific. So like there are forums for all kinds of fetishes. There are forums for petticoat fetishes, high heel fetishes. Every fetish you can imagine, there's a forum. They're usually some really shitty old like BB forum. You have to be very careful to never reuse a password in them because most of them are not well maintained, but there is a dedicated niche user base there. So if you're careful with how you go in, because these guys tend to resent women who show up who are like, hi, I'm here to extract money from you. Like that pisses them off because of what Apple said earlier. They feel like you're into their thing. Like if they're fed high-heeled shoes, they want to make sure that you're not just a scammer who actually likes pink high-heeled shoes, which are not sexy and are wrong. Purple is the only color. Like people get super, super, like I'm that way with stockings. Like don't even talk to me about like hold-ups versus thigh highs versus real stockings. Like if you're into a thing, you get super into. But those are also good places to go. You just have to be careful with how you approach them because if you integrate yourself as a member of the community, they can be excellent sources for consistent, low-cost, enthusiastic fan base members. But it takes more work. It takes more work to get set up than a Reddit or a Twitter account.
Yeah. So when it comes to forums or internet message boards, what you want to do is find your niche first.
Yeah.
And then go hunt those message boards. Because if you don't like purple high-heeled shoes, it's going to suck to have to talk about it for a million years.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. If you get I had a caller I hated who had a very specific fetish for French manicures. And if you I love nail polish. I have 500 bottles in my house, but after 3 hours of talking about French manicures, I was about to murder him and then myself. It was rough.
So, Lotus, we could talk forever. You've been streaming for 58 minutes. All right, so we've got the last 2 minutes for anybody who's got some questions, or we can do a quick recap.
What do you guys think? Recap or more questions? I'll give everyone who's here a homework assignment. Everybody who's in here, you have to write down 2 lists next to each other on a piece of paper. On one list, you're going to have either things about yourself or things about your character. Height, weight, hair color, eye color, ethnicity, all of the things that you find on Pornhub categories. And the other list is things that you like or can tolerate. And I want you to start looking at those intersections. Okay, so that's your homework. For a quick recap, Apple, you're better at that than I am.
All right, for a quick recap. So we talked generally about how this all works. So spicy accounting, going to do it on phones. Lotus went over the fact that she is coordinating this beautiful thing where at least 4 people are going through and starting brand new from scratch accounts in a variety of ways. This particular video / live stream is all about the phone aspect of it, which I, BBW Apple Tarts, am the lucky contestant.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this seriously.
Yeah, it's going to be strange reestablishing myself, but it's going to be good. I know it will. We talked about character sheets, and I went over my character sheets. We went over some social media sites. We went over a little bit of marketing. We went over how to make sure that you are not spending too many hours that you do not have on this. So you make your list about what you've got. This is where your research starts. You sign up for sites. You do the legwork, and then you decide how you're going to do it. You don't have to do it all at once. You do it a little at a time, and then you make all the money in the world, kind of thing. And then I think that we've got just about all of that. So Alexis, again, the recap at the beginning, Lotus is doing a fantastic thing. You can re-say what you said at the beginning, Lotus, but basically it's just...
Oh, the project. It's the project I was talking about in that TikTok. And this whole thing, I'm going to save it as a video so you can watch it. The first 5 minutes of me fucking around figuring out what I'm going to do, because this is my first live stream. So thank you all for being so kind as I pop my cherry. Oh, and there's one other thing that I know everybody wants to know that we talked about briefly. So your first month, you worked 3 weeks out of the month. First week was setting up content, setting up your accounts, and you made about $700 the next 2 weeks. And if I remember right, the next 2-3 months after that, you were doing after work and weekends, and it was about $1 to $2 grand a month.
That is correct. That is 100% correct. The best month that I had was a January, where I had a bunch of vacation time, and I just went through it, and I worked my ass off, and I made $2,900 in a single month. And that's working around the holiday schedule, New Year's Eve, where I just fuck it, I'm not working on New Year's Eve, thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but that, with that established character, that was my first year, I think, is when I pulled that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
and
cool.
Apple and I both have full-time jobs. So this is on top of a full-time job.
Yep, I've been at my work for a long time.
Yeah, you got some vested there. You've got the seniority, you got the tenure. You're not giving that up for hoeing. Hoeing's just extra money. So how long did it take you to pay off that credit card debt?
It was a large bit of debt. So it took me a couple of years, but considering I started with over $10,000 worth of debt, the fact that I am now zeroed out is fantastic.
It really is. It really is. Because during that time period, you also, your spouse got really sick. There was job loss for the other people in your house. And you were able to, keep everything on an even keel with this. So it wasn't like you had a couple years of easy sailing and everybody was fully employed and you were just able to dump all of your adult content money into it.
Oh no, we had car repairs and a cat that needed a tooth extracted. It was a mess.
My phone hoeing paid for anytime I have a $500 expense out of nowhere. The dog got hit by a car. Oh, hey, there's this bill that we totally got lost in the mail and now is due. I'm always able to sort of dig deep into my established characters and basically work my ass off for a couple of days and get that emergency money out. So it is a really nice feeling to know that if you get hit with $1,000 bill, you're going to be okay. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be overworked. You're going to be completely fried, but you're going to be financially okay.
So thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for watching. I will continue documenting my experience on my little TikTok. And
join her, BBW Apple Tarts on TikTok. And I will do a stitch soon.
And that sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm going to say goodnight, and y'all be safe.
All right. Good night. Love you, and I will catch you later. All right, y'all. That's an hour after my day job 11-hour shift and writing 2 more pages on the document. And this, I am dead tired. So I'm going to head out, but if you guys want to rewatch any of this, I'm going to try to add it to the channel. It's my first time. I might screw it up. All right. Much love for everybody. I believe you. You can do this.